All right, welcome to the Explainer. Now, if you're prepping for the UPSC exams, you know just how critical global geography and international relations are. So today, we're going to break down Australia. It's a continent that's not just a land of incredible contrasts, but, as we'll see, an absolutely vital partner for India.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Think about Australia for a second. It's got this funny little title of being both the smallest continent and the largest island on the planet. It's a real land of extremes. And the fascinating part? It's a place where these massive, dry, kind of inhospitable deserts are actually hiding some immense natural wealth. And that's what creates these really interesting geographic and economic dynamics that we're going to unpack. All right, first things first. We've got to get a handle on the physical landscape. If you really want to understand Australia's economy, where people live, and why it's so important on the world stage, you have to start with its basic geography. Seriously, everything flows from the land itself.
So picture this. Running like a giant spine all the way down the east coast is the Great Dividing Range. And this isn't just one single mountain range, okay? It's a whole complex system. You've got the New England Range, the Blue Mountains, the Australian Alps, the whole shebang. And this range is the single most dominant feature. It literally dictates where the rain falls and, because of that, where most Australians actually live.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when you move west, away from those mountains? Well, the landscape just completely changes. It dramatically flattens out, it gets super dry, and it just opens up into this massive western plateau and the central lowlands. This, right here, is what you think of when you hear the Australian outback.
And this huge interior is basically dominated by what you could call a ring of deserts. We're talking about immense places like the Simpson, the Great Sandy, the Great Victoria. It's not just one big desert, it's a whole collection of them. And they kind of act like a giant wall, sealing off the fertile coast from the dry interior. This explains so much, like why this massive continent is actually one of the most sparsely populated countries on the entire planet.
But, nature is funny. It has this way of creating balance. Right beneath all that dry, parched land lies this incredible hidden treasure, the Great Artesian Basin. Now get this, it's one of the largest underground water reservoirs on the entire planet. This aquifer is, without a doubt, the lifeblood of inland Australia. It's the only reason that agriculture and settlements can even exist out there.
Okay, so how does all this geography translate into money, into an economy? That's the crucial point. For a country that's so highly developed, it's pretty remarkable how dependent Australia's economy is on its primary sectors. We're talking farming and mining, and both of those are shaped 100% by the landscape we just talked about. And this table here, it just illustrates that connection perfectly. You can draw a straight line from climate to commerce. Look at the tropical monsoon climate up north, perfect for stuff like sugarcane and cotton. Then you go to the temperate grasslands in the southeast, the famous downs, and boom, you've got a massive wheat belt. And of course, that Mediterranean climate in the south and southwest, well, that's what supports their world-famous wine and fruit industry. It's all connected. Now, let's talk about animal husbandry for a second, because there's a really key distinction to make here. You have Australia and its neighbor, New Zealand. Both are huge players in this space, but they specialize. Australia's cattle industry, it's almost all geared towards meat production. And of course, they're world famous for their high-quality merino wool from all those massive sheep stations. New Zealand, on the other hand, they focus their cattle industry way more on dairy. It's a classic tale of two nations.
Okay, so let's bring this all back home, back to India. Because all this unique geography and this resource-packed economy, it all builds into the core question we're tackling today. Why on earth is this distant continent so critically important for India's future?
Right, and this is the absolute essential question for any UPSC aspirant. You've seen it, right? Australia's name just keeps popping up in discussions about India's foreign policy, our trade deals, strategic alliances like the Quad. So why? What's the big deal? Well, the answer has a lot of layers, but it starts deep, deep underground.
The short answer is resources. Plain and simple. Now look, India has tons of coal, right? We all know that. But what we don't have is high-quality coking coal, the kind that's absolutely essential for our steel industry. And guess who our primary source is? Australia. But it gets even more critical. Let's talk uranium. If we're going to meet our massive energy demands and hit our climate goals, civil nuclear power is a huge part of the answer. And for that, Australia is a completely vital supplier.
And just to really hammer that point home, let's be super clear. Australia doesn't just have some uranium. It has the #1 largest known reserve of uranium on the entire planet. That one simple geological fact makes it an absolutely indispensable partner for India's long-term energy security. No way around it. But here's the thing. The relationship is getting so much deeper than just a simple buyer-seller deal. For one, there's a huge and growing Indian diaspora in Australia, and they're becoming really influential, creating these strong people-to-people connections. And then there's the big picture, the strategic stuff. Both India and Australia are democracies, and we're both committed to a stable, rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific. That makes us natural partners in groups like the Quad.
But, and this is a big but, getting your hands on these vital resources isn't as easy as just writing a check. It's not a simple transaction. It means you have to navigate some really difficult political, social, and of course, environmental issues on the ground. And there's a perfect case study that brings all of these challenges to life: the Adani Carmichael coal mine.
Yeah, the Adani Mine project in Queensland. It's like a textbook example of all the friction points you find when you're trying to acquire resources globally. On one side of the argument, you have the promise to meet India's massive energy needs, plus it's a huge foreign direct investment for Australia. But on the other side, there's fierce opposition. People are worried about the environmental impact on the Great Barrier Reef, and there are major concerns about the land rights of the local Aboriginal communities. It's a real clash.
And what's so crucial to understand here is that the whole Adani controversy isn't some isolated one-off thing. No, it's actually a symptom of much broader challenges that India is facing all over the world whenever we try to secure resources. I mean, you've got political instability in Africa that can derail investments overnight. You've got us being outbid by China's massive state-backed companies. You've got geopolitical roadblocks that make it impossible to build pipelines. The path to energy security is just filled with these kinds of obstacles.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's this. The India-Australia relationship is so much more than just trade statistics on a spreadsheet. It's a really complex partnership, and it's built on a foundation of resources, yes, but also shared values and this growing strategic alignment. So, as the world's power dynamics are shifting, the real question is, what happens next? How will this partnership evolve? Could it just maybe become the cornerstone for stability and prosperity, not just for us, but for the entire Indo-Pacific region? Now that's a thought worth pondering.